Hi, I'm back here in my little studio and I'm working in watercolour again. I have been watching some videos by a guy called Robert Mee, M-E-E, and I am very impressed with his work. He does loose watercolours. I don't know what else he does, but I've seen his loose watercolours. And he is a wonderful teacher. Simplifies things so that you can actually understand what's going on. And what I'm doing is I'm going to try and recreate a picture, well, no, do a similar picture to one that he did in a video, because I think it's an excellent teaching thing. It's all about letting the paper do the work and painting on when the paper's right for doing it. Wet in wet isn't completely slamming wet paint into wet paint. It's trying to understand how the paint is going to be working. The paint I'm doing is just a very simple river reflection thing, and for that I'm just going to put some colour in the background. So I'm going to mix some ultramarine blue. I'm using a big pointy brush. This is an SAA imitation sable number 20. Holds an awful lot of paint, but it comes to a tiny little point if you want it to. Now that I don't know if you can see, but that is still wet because it's got a sheen on it, and all I want to do is make very watery underpainting for the sky. It's just a tint. Because the paper is still very wet, tilt that up and let it run down. Now, if I put paint that's wetter than that into it, I'll get cauliflowers and runbacks. If I put paint that's not quite as wet into it, I will get diffusion, and I'm going to do that by just putting a couple of little cloudy bits into the top. Still, I think I'll probably only use this one brush. Now, because everything's so wet, that will almost disappear. but I want it to because it's just an indication of a different type of tone. Even thicker, the purple in it. By just sucking some of the moisture out at the bottom, stops it going too far down. Now, you are literally going to be watching paint dry because I'm trying to get to see when the sheen goes off that painting. It'll only take a few minutes, but you need to watch it. Change the light. I can't really get it. What I'll do, I will pause it and let it wait till it's gone off. I'm not going to blow dry it because it changes the way it settles. Right, I've let that go off a little bit now. I've mixed up a thicker greeny bluey colour, and I'm going to just put some tree bits going across here. Now, if you're watching that, you can see it's still diffusing, but it's not going quite as far as that. I'll get harder edge here because it dries quicker at the side. See how it's wetter there and that is disappearing. Exactly the same paint as there, but it's actually disappearing into there. Make it thicker and lay it on top. Now, clean the brush and just with a damp brush, just want to soften the edge there. While that's drying, I mix some more of the sky colour, which is ultramarine and umber. Up, that's how to remember the sky. Up. And I do this at the bottom. Now here, damp brush, and take it upwards, and then it's going the other way. Now it's darker at the bottom than at the top. I'll put the clouds in after. Now, clean water, and hopefully this is where some magic will happen. It didn't work. I left it too late. Now that's nearly dry, so I can put some darker colours into the bases of the trees. Right, so I'm going to use a smaller brush. This one's a number, no, I use the 6. Just putting some more tree shapes into that. It's still damp, so it's still diffusing. Now I've gone miles away from where I started, because what I'm doing isn't as well practiced as what was on YouTube. Just goes to prove, even though I've been painting for 70 years, I can't do anything. I don't mean I can't do anything, I mean I can't do everything. There's lots of stuff which I can't do. And when people say to me I can't do that, I can't either. So what I'm doing with this is, because I've cocked it up in a lot of places, I'm cobbling it together with stuff that I've done in the past and I know might work. It's not what was in the video that I watched. What I've done there is take my eye off the ball and ended up putting far too much water in there. I think bad workman and all the rest, but I'm using SAA practice paper. If I'd been using a more expensive paper, it might have been slightly better. Right, okay, I've got them. And what I'm going to try and do now is try to pull out a little bit of reflection along the waterline. And that is wetting it. try sucking it out with a damp brush. Leave that for a bit, see how it goes. Okay, you've been watching paint dry for a while. I've been looking at it, not thinking, that's darker than the centre, I want more interest in the centre. So I'll mix some more blue and raw umber, and that's still got some sheen on, so that should. I'll put some alizarin crimson into it just to bring it warmer. There's some dark in there. Right, now take a little bit of wateriness out of the middle, technical term. I'll use the big one, the middle big one, 3/4. And just use a little rigger, some very thick paint. And just put some dark reedy things coming in the middle. Right, that is not so much a how to, but how not to. What I'll do is I'll turn it off now, I'll let it dry out completely and then take a photograph of it. Right, it's a few minutes later, it's all completely dry now. There's a total bog up there where I tried to rescue, where I put too much water in. I'll go in a little bit. Don't want to move the thing, but you can see there it's all separated and gone funny colours. So what I'm going to do now is try to rescue it. People say that watercolour, once you've made a mistake you're buggered, but you're not. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to try and reinsert what should be there. So I've got my dark colour, which is mainly ultramarine and raw umber, with a smidge of Hooker's green. And what I'm going to do, I pulled that out all wrong, so everything's dry now, so I should be able to just put darks in. It's still loose, I'm not actually drawing anything. I'm just putting squiggles in, and it's all very abstracted, but you can still see that it looks better than it did. Well, I think it does. It looks more treey. Okay, I'm going to put a... not over happy where I took that out, so I'm going to reinstate some of the darks at the bottom. Pull it back out so you can see. Trying very hard not to get into faffing. I'm just putting some dry brush stroke at the edges here. Okay, there, that's that. And just with the rigger, I'm going to put some birdies. They're very dark. The blue and the brown. And there. There, I'm going to leave that. Call that river scene. Okay. Take the tape off. They always look better with the tape off. When you're pulling tape off, pull it outwards, away from the middle of the picture. Otherwise, if it does, pull the top layer of paper off. You've not pulled your picture off as well. Okay, there's that. River scene. Hope you liked that. Not particularly good, but it's a technique. Okay.